Thank you that you're still watching here on Swiss 2023. I really feel the goosebumps with our candidates' answers, and I think that our judge will be having a difficult time. Yeah, a difficult time in choosing who will be the Swiss 2023. But this time, after we heard their answers, let me give you some background, some details, or information or trivia first. Again, welcome to SST Universal Intergalactic Set 2023 with the theme Glancing Differences. And I am your host, Dave Dugun Sagin. And now we'll be amazed to the wonder of Indian culture, the golden region, early Southeast Asia, and the expansion of Pacific. But before that, we have to pinpoint the objectives. Our objectives here are to determine the Indian culture that widely contributed to many, to distinguish what Southeast Asian events happened and how it started and had declined, and to know the Pacific regions and how they started during their civilization per se. First, the wonder of Indian culture. This is actually a continuation of a report that talks about India. It entails art and architecture, literature, and music. The eras between Mauryas and Mughals in India is that it signified that there are a period of cultural evolution. Yeah, cultural evolution wherein artists and writers left with marks or their legacy by their literary and artistic achievements. And one of these are art and architecture. Art and architecture are the Buddhist cave temples and monasteries, underground cavity to monumental structure that their primary forms of religious architecture. And one of these example is that the 28 caves of Ajanta, the 20 caves of Ajanta that are among the Indians' greatest artistic achievements, and they are very impressive. Of course, their cool, their sculpture, their paintings are so lit. Another thing is that other temples called Ellora, the rock cut Hindu temple cave complex with artworks. Also, there are wall paintings, rock paintings that are at admirable state of preservation. One of the places that has projected rock paintings is that we can find it at Sigriya. Sigriya is a 5th century royal palace on the island of Sri Lanka. As a defense measure, the palace was located on the top of gigantic volcanic rock. Speaking of rock carvings are popular too. One of the places that has these rock paintings that can be found at Mamallapuram, or known as Mahabalipuram. Here we can find this one. Moreover, temples became progressively more ornate. Ornate means decorated until 11th century when sculpture began to dominate structure. To add, the greatest example of medieval Hindu temple art is probably the Kahurahu, Kahurahu or Kajurahu, or how I pronounce it one, or that is what it is. And when you enter the Deccan Plateau, their temples has the different style prevailed. The southern temple has the different style, and this kind of style would have these kind of impressive gate towers, or also known as gopuras. Swan as literature. We can see here that there is Sanskrit, Tendon's work, and Kalidasa. Sanskrit is an Indo-European language of India. You can see this on their book, their poems. Tendon's work, it is that it translated in the Ten Princes. He creatively constructed a fantastic and exciting world that fuses history and fiction. How Calibri is, isn't it? And the last one is Kalidasa, one of the India's most famous authors who lived during the Gupta dynasty. Although little is known of him, including his dates, he probably wrote The Court of Chandragupta. The next one is music. So in their classical music, it is based on a scale that we call raga. Raga are having this kind of dozen, if not hundreds, of separated scale or separate scale, which are grouped into separate categories depending on the time they are using, or on the time they are on the day that you're using during their performance. Their performers their performers are using instruments, and one of the instruments is string instruments and what we call sitar. Now, let us proceed to the states of mainland Southeast Asia. Welcome to the kingdoms of Funan, Angkor, Pagan, and the Malay world. The first states of Southeast Asia is commonly circulated to agricultural and trading societies. One of the mainland states that has risen is the Kingdom of Funan. What is Kingdom of Funan? How it started? Kingdom of Funan, which arose in the fertile valley of Lower Mekong River. So this is the geography of Mekong River here on, and this is the Funan, Kingdom of Funan. So with the access of copper, thin iron, and as well as the variety of tropical agriculture products, Funan played an active role in this process, and Okeo on the Gulf of Thailand become one of the primary commercial ports in the region. And Funan declined in the 5th century when the trade began to pass through the Strait of Malacca. And it was eventually replaced by the great Kingdom of Angkor. Kingdom of Angkor. Angkor was the most powerful state to emerge in Southeast Asia before the 16th century occurred. The capital city was Angkor. The economics of this kingdom was likely to the Kingdom of Funan, that is circulated with the agricultural and trading system, the wet rice, the products of textile, the honey, fish, and soap. But by the 14th century, this kingdom had begun to decline because of the continuous wars between the neighbors, the drought, overpopulation, and the salting of irrigation. In 1432, because of the Thai, Angkor was destroyed, and these Thai people established their capital at Ayutthaya. As the Thai expanded their reign, this expanded their territory, their main competition came from the west, were the Burmese people. This was the rise of the Kingdom of Pagan. This is the pagan. The pagan's geographical features is where, rather, Salween and Irrawaddy rivers. So this is the picture. This is the Irrawaddy and then this Salween. So this is the pagan. The pagan quickly converted to Buddhism and adopted many aspects of Indian political institution and culture. The major force in western part of the Southeast Asia, but when the Mongols attacked in the late 13th century, pagan had weakened, and resulting vacuum may have benefited the Thai as they moved into the areas occupied by the Burmese migrants in the Chao Phraya Valley. In the Malay Peninsula and the Indonesian archipelago, a different pattern have emerged. The rise of Mali world. This area had linked to the regional trade networks because of people here were active seafarers, the Malay peoples, which eventually gave rise to the two of the region's most notable trading societies, Srivijaya on the island of Sumatra and the Javanese kingdom of Majapahit. Both societies were major participants in what we called the Spice Road, a maritime equivalent of the Silk Road on the Asian mainland. Merchant fleets from India and Arabian Peninsula just to come over there just to buy cloves, pepper, nutmeg, and etc. In 18th century, Srivijaya, which had been established along the eastern coast of Sumatra and became a powerful commercial state that dominated the trade passing through the Strait of Malacca. However, in 1025, Chola, one of the kingdoms of southern India and a commercial rival of this kingdom, have inflicted a devastating defeat on the island kingdom. Although the Srivijaya survived, but it was unable to regain its reign because of the main trade route had shifted to the east from Strait Malacca. It became to the Strait of Sunda and directly out into the Indian Ocean. In the late 13th century, this shift in trade patterns led to founding the new kingdom of Majapahit in the island of Java. Majapahit succeeded in uniting most of the archipelago and perhaps even part of Southeast Asia mainland under its rule. Between China and India, it is not surprising that both of those major civilizations influenced developments within the region. Other parts of the region were exposed to varying degrees of Chinese influence depending on the importance of their trade. For their part, the Indian states never exerted much political control over Southeast Asia, but their influence was pervasive nonetheless. In addition, Indian influence can be seen in many aspects of Southeast Asian culture, from political and social institution and religious belief to art and architecture, language and literature. And one of the examples of this is that Angkor. Angkor adopted this type of Indian religious influence, that the prominent of royal advisor constituted a Brahmin class. Moreover, India also supplied Southeast Asians with a writing system because the societies of the region had no written scripts for their spoken language before the arrival of Indian merchants. So the Indian phonetic symbols were borrowed and used to record spoken language. Local forms of cultural expression, however, were by to means abandoned. A popular form of entertainment among the common people, the wayang kulit, a shadow play that may have originally from India or China, but it probably became a distinct art form in Java and other islands of Indonesian archipelago. These scenario plays were often accompanied by a gamelan, an orchestra composed primarily of percussion instruments such as gongs, drums that are apparently originated in Java. So this is the wayang kulit, and this is one of the instruments of gamelan. The daily life of Southeast Asian people. Southeast Asian societies were somewhat more egalitarian. When we say egalitarian, it is a principle of treating the people equal or deserve the equal rights, and less hierarchical than it was the case in Hebei regions. Well, actually, there are regions that they embrace the culture of egalitarian, and other regions have these social structures that the top of it is the aristocrats, and the below uh, elite classes are the artisans, merchants, farmers, and fishers because of the two major societies or the two major countries that influence the society of Southeast Asia. In terms of economics in Malay world, social relations were generally less formal. Most of the people in the region, whether engaged in farming, fishing, or in the crafts, lived in small kampungs. Kampungs means villages, in wooden houses built on stilts to avoid flooding during the monsoon season, while the mainland states many were involved in growing or mining products for exporting, such as tropical food products, precious wood, tin, or precious gems. Traditional religious beliefs in the region took familiar form of spirit worship and animism. The world of spirits, religious belief of the Southeast Asian regions. Southeast Asians believe that the spirits dwell in the mountains, rivers, streams, and other sacred places in their environment. They believe that the mountains were particularly sacred. When Hindu and Buddhist ideas began to penetrate the area early in the first millennium, they exerted a strong appeal among local elites. In Angkor Kingdom, the king's duties included performing sacred rituals in the mountain in the capital city. In time, the ritual became a state cult uniting Hindu gods with local nature, deities, and ancestral spirits in a complex pantheon. This state cult, financed by the royal court, eventually led to construction of temples throughout the country. A major transformation began in 11th century, however, when Theravada Buddhism began to penetrate the mainland kingdom of Pagan from the island of Sri Lanka. Theravada's appeal to the peoples of Southeast Asia is reminiscent of the original attraction of the Buddhist thought centuries earlier on the Indian subcontinent. During the next centuries, Theravada gradually undermined the influence of the state, and it became the dominant faith in several mainland societies like
Burma, Thailand, Laos, and Cambodia, whilst Islam began to enter the area through the arrival of merchants from India and the Middle East in the 13th and 14th century.